All right. We have a couple people coming in. Good night. Everybody send your hello so I know who's on. Hi, Howard. Our dear faithful, how are you? Good to have you. How's life in the Bahamas? We're still waiting for you to come back. How much longer do we have to wait? As you guys come in, give me your hello so I can see who's on. In this version, I can't really tell who's on until you send me a message. So go ahead and tell me who's on. Hi, Kareen. Good to have you as always. Mr. McCook. What's a wow Trudy about Mr. McCook? What does that mean? I know what you're saying, but we won't go there right now. Hi, Arthur. Nice to have you. Good evening from Linstead. Yay, just up the road. Awesome. Everybody good? Everybody having a pretty good Saturday? Surprise, surprise, it's not your regular friend. How do you guys feel about that? I'll try to be half as good as he is. All right, I'll try my best. Hi, Legend Farm. Good night. Thanks for joining us. Jackie, hello. How good? Well, I can't see you, but I'm just envisioning that I can see you. How you doing? Lashane. Showed up again tonight, Lashane. I sure did. Hi, Kenneth. I need to call you. I'm ready. So I'll reach out to you. I'll call you. Okay. Good. You guys, share the link with any groups that you're in. So and call somebody, and remind them to come on. We have a lot of good information for you tonight, and I have a guest. You're gonna love her. She's awesome. So we're gonna give it a couple more minutes. Give a couple more people time to jump on with us. But you guys, I love how you're always so faithful and always on time. And my cousin, hi. How are you? What are you doing up? Isn't it like midnight your time or something? Good to see you though. Hi. This is good. Hi, Babs. How you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. I see you got on earlier tonight than last week, but that's good. When we getting an update? Oh, Shane, that's a good question. We're working on it. There's just so many things on the plate. We're just trying to schedule it all out. He's asking us when we're going to get an update on YouTube. I will say we're slackers, so keep us on your toes. Keep asking because we need to get that out. Hi, Hannah. Good to see you. Give everybody a little bit more time to see who else comes in and joins us. Like I said, we're going to have a good session, guys. We have a guest with us, and she'll have lots of phenomenal information for us that I'm really excited to share with you guys. So let's give it another minute or so, see who else joined us. Again, Marsha in Israel. Hi. I thought about messaging you today, Marsha, and I didn't. I'm a bad girl. I'm gonna have to message you to say hi. But what time is it in Israel anyway? But I'm happy to have you. It looks like you're having a lot of fun. I'm a little bit jealous. I need to come visit you before you get done with your studies. So, all right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Actually, guys, to get today's session started, I want to start just a little bit differently. Everybody is very familiar with what's going. I should say most of us is very familiar with what's going on in the world, the fight or the war between Ukraine and Russia. If we can all just take a moment, and we just want to have a moment of silence so that we can, because our hearts are with the people of Ukraine. So let's just have a moment of silence because this could be any one of us. So we just want to make sure that everybody's safe so we can pray for them and make sure everybody's good. So let's just have a moment of silence, okay? Okay. All right. Thank you guys. And even beyond today, guys, let's just keep sending up the prayers because I think this is a big thing for all of us. Even though we're sort of geographically away from it, it still is affecting all of us. And so it's really good that we pay attention to what's going on, see what we can do to help. I know different people. We haven't really as a team, look at sending anything just yet or doing anything just yet. But for right now, even just prayers would help. I can't even imagine being sitting in a war right now. So if I was a person from Ukraine, so it's good for all of us to keep our hearts and mind attuned to what's going on with them, because even though it directly affects them, we should also remember that in the long run, it affects all of us. And one of the things we need to think about, hence our group has to do with farming and agriculture, is the fact that hey, what's going on there is also going to affect the price of fuel. Because I don't know if you guys have heard that the price of fuel is probably going to go up, and probably has already started going up. I'm not big on news, so but it's probably going to go up, and it's going to affect everybody in the world. It's not just any one person or any one region. It's going to affect everybody in the world. And oh yes, we definitely have Jamaican students there too. So we definitely make sure we want to keep them in our prayers to make sure that they stay safe as well. But when the price of fuel goes up, guys, it affects everything, including our food supply. So we definitely want to make sure, it's all about, making agriculture sexy is great in one aspect. But one of the things, the topic that you can see for today is actually, let me put that up so you guys can see that. All right. So the topic for today is women and youth in agriculture. So this is unfortunately, but yet a good time to remind everybody that go out there and try to do your little farming, try to help subsidize your food supply as much as possible, especially for those of us that live in the country that have a little bit more land than maybe somebody that is in the city. Maybe we can do our little part to help subsidize people in the city to give them their food. So never underestimate the value of a little bitty farm in your backyard or in your back window or your patio, whatever you have. So some kind of farming is always good. All right. So now that we got all the little intros out of the way, I actually want to introduce to you guys our guest for tonight. Hi, how are you, Nelsa?
Hi, Trudy. I'm good. How are you?
Awesome. So let me tell everybody who you are. Okay.
Okay.
So tonight, guys, we have with us Nelsa English Johnson. She has a lot of names here. Nelsa English Johnson. She is the country coordinator for the Sustainable Agriculture in the Caribbean. Their acronym is SAC project, which is actually being implemented by the Caribbean version of WUSAC. I'll let her explain all of that to you. All right. So
Problem.
welcome, Nelsa. Thank you for joining us. Guys, we were chit chatting earlier before she came on, and she's had a full day. So we are blessed that she carved out yet some more time out of her day to spend some time with us. So thank you again for joining us, Nelsa. All
Not a
right.
problem.
So let's start at the very beginning. Tell us a little bit about yourself, because one of the things we were chit chatting about, guys, is that I haven't met Nelsa yet. I've met everybody
No.
else in her group, but I haven't met her yet. So I'm learning about her just like you guys are. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you grew up, your education. Did you have any kind of education specialty to kind of lead to where you are? Anything you want to tell us?
Okay. All right. So, good night, everybody. Thank you so much, Trudy, for having me on. It's an absolute pleasure. And, I just think I'm blessed to be able to be here to share a little bit about myself and, to talk about women and youth in agriculture. It's definitely a passion of mine. It is, I like to tell people that agriculture is not something that my book up, It is something that, I've been very intentional and I am extremely passionate about it. So
Mhm.
this is my heart. So as Trudy said, I'm Nelsa. I was born in Yorton,
Okay.
but when I was like 2 years old, my parents moved to St. Anne. So I grew up in a little community called Knapdale. It's about 10, 15 minutes outside of Brownstown.
Okay.
I am from a generation of farmers. So great grandfather, grandfather, father, we've all been farmers. So agriculture is something that is, I would like to say, it's within my DNA.
Mhm.
So it's something that I've always aspired to. I remember when I was younger, and I share this story every time just to show people that this is not something that I learned that I'm good at, and so I'm doing it just because I know I can do it. It is something that I live, I eat, I breathe, I do. This is who I am. So I remember when I was much younger, as I said, my dad is a farmer, and we we were poor growing up, blessed. Sometimes we didn't even know we were poor because our parents, they did such a great job of just, providing for us and loving on us and, shielding us and stuff. So growing up, my dad's a farmer, of course, and I remember if persons will are old enough to remember when Jamaica had a very thriving milk industry. So we used to sell milk to cow's milk to Nestle, and this was what my dad was doing. And my mom's a teacher, so he was the major breadwinner for the family. And I remember, every morning we would wake up, and even before I went to school, I would get up. We did hand milking, so my dad maybe had like maybe 10 or 12 cows that he was milking, and I had my two that I had to do before I go to school. Yeah, so we would get up and I would hand milk, and then I remember right about the time when milk powder came around, um, we went from having a little co-op with 12 other farmers in the community where we supplied milk every day, to hearing, oh, it's not so profitable to work with small farmers again, so we'll have to move from every day to every other day. And then every other day became twice a week, and then twice a week became, oh, we can't come all the way to where you are, so you have to kind of meet us halfway. And I remember, we would have to we had to buy a little deep freeze, and they would freeze the milk, and take it to Monig. And those who know St. Anne know that Monig is a bit of a ways from Brownstown. We would have to take the milk out to Monig to meet the truck. And, they did that for a while, and then it came down. It's just not profitable to do business with small farmers anymore. And so, we're discontinuing this program. And so it was devastation. Like, I remember my father was devastated, and not just him, but we're talking about small farmers here and all these other farmers in the community who, this is how they made their livelihood, this is how the kids went to school, this is how they provided food for their families, and here it is now, there's nothing. And I remember, my dad had to give up farming for a little while, and he went to become a delivery man for courts. And I remember how heartbreaking it was. And I remember in that minute, I said to myself, as long as I am able, I'm going to do what I can to make sure that another farmer never has to go through this again. And I think that is where my passion even blossomed more. And so from there, I went to Case. So I studied at the College of Agriculture, Science, and Education. And the story there is so funny because I went to St. Hilda's High School, and I was pretty young. Back then we had common entrance, so you could get in before you got to the age. And so I had to wait on CXCs to get into college. So I did the interview, and they said, "Yeah, man, you can come, but when we get your CXCs." And I remember the Monday came when classes were supposed to start, and the results were late that year. And so I remember my mom and I, we bought everything we needed for college, and I packed my bags, and they were at the door. I am going to Case. I had no plan B. So there was no community college, there was no application in any other institution. I was going to Case. And I packed my bag, and my bag was at the door. And I remember the Monday when I know school started today, I sat on my bags and I said, God, I don't have a plan B. Case is it and nothing else.
Wow.
And then the results came out like Wednesday, and they said we called once we got them. And we're talking about payphone days, when they had to go line up to use the payphone. Yep. And we called, and they said, okay, she can come in tomorrow. And then the Thursday morning, we took the trek, and made our way to Portland. And I did that, did general agriculture. Then I got the opportunity again, even though my parents, we didn't really have it, but my parents sacrificed everything for us to be able to make something of ourselves in life. So I ended up in Canada. I went to Dalhousie University, where I went on and I did a bachelor's degree. And you know how we are as Jamaicans. Anywhere we go, we're going to work hard, and we're going to. So I was studying. I worked jobs while I was studying because, it's not like my parents had it. So I had to find money for boarding and all these other things. And
Books,
so
everything else.
everything else. So I went there and I worked hard. I applied myself, and I got a scholarship to do my master's. So when I was done doing my bachelor's degree, a window opened, and I got a scholarship to do my master's, and I did my master's. And then after that, everybody's like, "Well, you coming back to Jamaica? Come do. If you get the chance to stay, why you don't stay?" I was like, nope. I made a promise that I am going to do my part to ensure that another farmer never has to suffer what my dad did. And so I came back home, and I started working in projects. So my first project looked at watershed management, and agriculture is a very integral part of watershed management. So I started there at NEPA, and I continued there I was at NEPA for about 10 years. And all of my projects, I got into this whole project management field, but all my projects were centered around environmental protection, and agriculture always featured in a great way. And so I got a chance. And I just to throw a bit in there too, when I came back in, oh my gosh, that was what, 2007. In 2007, when I came back to Jamaica from Canada, I was nominated and received the Prime Minister's Youth Awards for Excellence in Agriculture. So this is
Nice.
a road that I have been walking, and since then, all my projects, as I said, they've been in agriculture. My dad eventually was able to stop being a delivery man and went back full time into agriculture. Now, as a family, we have our own small business that we're running, and so
Okay.
it's just been an amazing road. And this is what I have dedicated my life to agriculture. I love farming. I love farmers. I love when you go to the farm and you work with them, and you hold their hands, and at the end of the project you see where they've adopted the lessons. They have not just listened, but they've actually gone on their farms and started implementing some of the best practices, and you can see that you have made a meaningful difference in their lives. And that is what it is about for me. Like, I don't take on something for just taking it on sake. I have to see how what I'm going to do is going to positively impact somebody else's life.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Wow. That was an amazing story. How's that for a start? I mean, I was watching everybody's comments. They're like, wow, and that is a phenomenal story, because I don't think I've met anybody that, like you said, grew up in farming and it's in their
Hmm.
DNA. I mean, I'm probably in, one or two levels in farming, but to say it's in your
Hmm.
DNA and you promise to
Yeah.
go back, this is, do you want to do a documentary? I mean, I
Oh,
can't, but I mean, we should work on that.
we could do that. Yes.
That is definitely an amazing story. And I love the passion that you have, especially for women and for youth and really just small farmers. When
Mhm.
you say your family has a small business, I'm gonna be nosy. What's that? What's your
Well, we pop up during the pandemic. Just
okay?
watching on the news and hearing farmers in St. Elizabeth throwing away melons and feeding them to pigs, but you had people in Kingston who wanted produce and there was a scarcity. And we said, okay, well, how can we, try to work linkages? And so out of that, our little WhatsApp farm was born. So what we basically do, like offices and stuff, persons who they don't want to be exposed to going to the marketplace. Not everybody is like us where they don't mind going to the market and that kind of stuff. Some people, it's just not their thing, and that's okay.
Mhm.
So persons who, they want the convenience of it. They send us their WhatsApp orders. We put out our produce list for the week, and they send us their orders via WhatsApp, and then on a Friday everything's packaged and delivered. And we try to meet the needs. And it started out sometimes we had a few persons in an office building, and then they started saying, oh, but my mom could use this service, and I have an elderly aunt who could use this service. And so that's how we've kind of grown. We're still small, still growing, still trying to find our way. And as the pandemic begins to ease, and I'm saying easy, yes, because I believe it's easing.
Yes.
As the pandemic begins to ease, we have to re-evaluate our model, because more people are going out, and those kind of things. But it was providing a service that was vitally needed at that time.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Very, very cool. Very nice. So you're now at, forgot the full name,
that's
SAC. I
okay.
just, I
Yes,
just
I'm
know the.
with.
Okay,
Mhm.
so you're now at SAC. So tell us, what is SAC and what is your role as a country coordinator? What all is involved in that? Uh-oh, is it my internet or yours? Oh
Okay,
no.
so
Okay.
as I mentioned, I am involved in project management, and I started in March of last year as the country coordinator for the Sustainable Agriculture in the Caribbean project. And if ever there was a project, I mean, I've done my fair share of projects, but if ever there was one that really hit at my heart, hit home for me, it's this particular project. And my team will tell you, I call it my purpose project, because it has the ability to impact in a real and meaningful way the very persons who would have influenced my beginnings in agriculture. So the Sustainable Agriculture in the Caribbean project, it is a regional project. We are funded by Global Affairs Canada, and we're being implemented by WUSC. Now, WUSC stands for World University Service of Canada. It is and Canada in the name, it's a Canadian NGO that operates in 25 countries across the world. So Asia, Africa, in the Middle East, we're here, they're here in the Caribbean. So we are a registered entity in the Caribbean as WUSC Caribbean Jamaica. For persons who are active in the space, you might have heard of WUSC before, because if you've ever heard of the Propel project, that dealt with onions in between 2000, they about 2015 2018 thereabout, they were doing quite a bit of work with onions in Jamaica. So we are like the phase 2. So Propel was awesome. Irish potatoes, onions, they did a great job. And when you do a project, you're supposed to learn lessons and then build on those learnings. So SAC can be considered the building on Propel. So whereas Propel focused on onions and potatoes and just crops, SAC is a little different in that we are focusing on both plants and livestock. We are a regional project, so it's not just Jamaica who is in this. There is St. Lucia, there's Guyana, there's Suriname, and there's Dominica, who is also a part of this 5-year initiative. And our goal is simply to work with women, youth, and men to ensure that they can become more economically prosperous within agriculture. And we are particularly focused on women and youth. Why women and youth, you might ask? Because it's a 2-part thing. One, our funding window from our donor is one that focuses on women and youth. That WUSC outside of agricultural projects. Like, I was a part of WUSC when I was in college in Canada. And the work that they did there was to, and it's so funny because I never even dreamed that I would come to work for the organization that I used to volunteer with when I was in college. And so the work in college is that they would help refugees. So, sometimes we see these war-stricken countries, and they have like just amazingly bright young people who, because of the wars, they've had to flee home, or they've lost their families, and so they would get a fresh start through WUSC. WUSC would migrate them from the war-torn part of their country to Canada. And so while I was at Dalhousie University, we had 3 such persons who came through during my 4-year stint there. And so I learned of WUSC in that regard. But the work that they're doing now is focused on agriculture. It's focusing on women. It's focusing on being climate resilient and responding to the needs of small farmers. Because we know that subsistence agriculture, it plays a huge role in the Jamaican economy. So yes, they might not be as large as, the big scale farmers, but they have a very important role to play.
Yes.
And the project is all about facilitation. How can we facilitate women and youth having a stronger voice in the agriculture sector? Having their voices heard in what policies are made, having their voices heard in what works and what doesn't work, having their voices heard in how should I be taught agriculture? Because we know sometimes we tend to have this one size fits all approach to how we do. So and agriculture extension is good, learning is good, but it's just different people learn in different ways. So how can we dial it back and say, okay, let's try to tailor something for women? A woman who, in addition to trying to do agriculture, she's a mother, she's a wife. She probably has a little shop in her front yard that she's working. She has all these different things going. How can we ensure that whatever training is done caters for her? The same thing for youth. They learn very differently from how adults learn. They're technology driven. They're all about their phones. Like, how are we going to teach them the best practices in agriculture? So that is what SAC is about. SAC is about supporting and facilitating. And we're very unlike many other projects. Whereas a lot of projects, they find a group of farmers and they'll be let me give you some fertilizer, let me give you some seeds. And then there's this dependence that comes around the project. And then as soon as the project ends, because all projects, they have a start and they have an end, and as soon as the project ends, everything that was achieved just falls flat because there was no sustainability. And so for us, we are building sustainability in from the beginning. So we are not looking to insert ourselves and tell farmers what to do, how to do, when to do, where to do. We are looking to facilitate. We use what is called an inclusive market systems approach. And what that means is that we, from the outside, facilitate discussions. So who are the primary producers? Those would be our farmers. Who are the buyers? So whether it is the higglers or the consolidators or the supermarkets, bringing everybody to the table. Who sets the policy? Who determines how agriculture moves? So it's the Ministry of Agriculture. Who trains the farmers? We're talking about RADA and the First Sands and all the other entities who give technical advice. And instead of policymakers having a discussion over one side, farmers lamenting on the other side, and then input suppliers having a discussion, it's like, okay, let's bring everybody into one space.
Okay.
One space, let's have one conversation. And through having one conversation, then women can feel like they're heard, because the input supplier will be right there to hear from them. The youth can feel like, okay, matters, because we like to say that children are the future, but I'm a little different. I say they are the now and the future, because we can't wait until we get to the future to start building them up and preparing them. We have to deal with them from now. So they're the now and the future. So it's bringing everybody to the table so we can have that joint dialogue, make joint decisions. And if we make decisions together, then there's a greater likelihood that it's going to stick, and it's going to stick for a long time.
Nice. I mean, very well said, because like you said, a lot of these other groups and organizations, they come in and it's really just a handout. Here's this, here's that, here's that. And then once they leave, then like you said, it all falls apart. There's so many equipment all over the place and buildings all over the place that's just abandoned because they weren't instead of teaching the individuals how to fish, they gave them a fish. So they have all these fancy equipment and all this nice building, but they have no clue what to do with it. So I really like the approach that you guys have with SAC, where you facilitate and everybody comes together, because it doesn't make sense you implement something if it's not going to work in my model.
If it's not going to last, no. We would have just wasted our time and resources. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, awesome. Well, I learned a whole lot, even though I've been communicating with everybody. It's just like now I'm hearing a much bigger, broader approach program. So I'm really excited to hear that. That was awesome. All right. So with every great program and every all the good initiatives and want to do things the best way, there are always challenges. What kind of challenges have you guys seen working with SAC? I don't know if you want to specifically just say in Jamaica or just SAC in general, and then bring it down to Jamaica. Just give us some ideas of some of the challenges you guys see.
Sure. So one of the great things about the approach that we take, again, is the fact that we're always consulting. We never take it for granted. Like, even though on our team we have trained agriculturalists, like I'm a trained agriculturalist, and truth be told, I know what a lot of the challenges are, and I know quite a few of the solutions, but you never take it for granted that you know everything. And so we take a very consultative approach to the work that we do. So we broke the island up into 3 zones, and we had consultations across the island because we wanted to hear from as many women as we could. We wanted to hear from as many youth as we could. We said, hey, what are the challenges that you are facing? And we didn't just stop there, because a lot of times we want to ask people what the problems are, and sometimes we are the ones who have our own solution. So when we ask our stakeholders what the challenges are, we also said to them, what are the solutions that could come, that could help you to overcome these obstacles? And there are some things that pop out from the discussions. I remember when we went to Mandeville to meet with the women from the Central Zone. There was this song that we kept, the song, "Woman a Heavy Load Woman,
Yes.
yes. So the ladies, they remix that song, and I
Okay.
remember them singing "Woman on a Heavy Load, Woman on a Heavy Load, Woman on a Heavy Load. When Saturday morning come, we
Nice.
have we own money, we have we own money." So I mean, just those kind of
That
things. So the
was
ladies,
awesome.
we want to be able to contribute more to
Mhm.
our families, to our communities. So it's not it's shifting the parallel from them always needing and wanting to them being able now to produce and contribute. And I must say, truly, that Jamaica is blessed. Like,
Mhm.
even though we have our challenges, like when we look at other countries and the challenges that their women face, our women are in such a better position than most other countries. And it's something that we should definitely be grateful for. The type of marginalization that some countries and the women in those countries meet or
Mhm.
have to endure, our women, we're so far ahead of the game. But even with that said, there is still that sense that there are some there's a bias in the system. Like when we spoke to the women, they said, boy, it's hard to get labor. And
Mm.
and when you do get labor, the men, because they feel like you're a woman, they think they can, work for you any old how, and they don't really listen when you talk, and them think you don't know what you're doing. So those are some of the challenges that women faced. They spoke about the fact that financing, and this is not just for women, it's for everybody. Financing in agriculture, that's another challenge that was faced,
Mhm.
that is constantly being faced. And just the general ease of doing agriculture, it's not easy. Like, sometimes, unless you have a passion and a deep love for it, you will give it up.
And a
Like, it is,
support system.
yes. And a support, if you don't have those things in place,
You know,
agriculture
support.
will break you.
Yes, it will. It
It
definitely.
will. And so, it's having this support system. And so these are some of the challenges that we've identified, that
Mhm.
the women and the youth and the men have put forward. And so what are we looking at? If we talk about ease of doing agriculture, labor is a big problem. But people need to eat. We still have to farm. We still have to produce. And so, what are some of the innovative ways? And the SAT project is all about innovation, not distortion. So, we're
Mhm.
not here to give out handouts, and we're not here to take control and dictate to people what to do. But how can we help you to help yourself? How can we pull on a few other key partners together? Again, that inclusive market system, and help each other. And so it's looking at things like easy mechanization for agriculture. So instead of you having to depend on the gentleman to come and plow and those kind of things for you, are there any, small handheld, maybe
Well,
solar or gas operated mowers that you could push around yourself? It's about seeing how we can find creative ways to innovate the sector and get people going. When we talk about education, we spoke about education, it's not a one size fits all. And so we have to find creative ways to change the way we do things, and we know that change is difficult and it takes time. And so we're looking to work with partners, to work with these technical and extension officers to shift how we do extension training, to shift how we do sharing of information, to get it to be more focused on what works for women, what
yeah.
works for youth, what works for men. Because
Mhm.
the time that works for males is not the same time for a woman who has to get the kids ready to go to school first, and she have to make sure that the house is cleaned up before she can even attend to the farm. She has the baby, and it's not going to be easy for her to go to a training if she has the baby and the baby's crying. So how are we looking at, it might be that extension services now might have to come with a little daycare part of it, so that a
Mhm.
woman can take the baby with her to the training, and at the same time be comforted in knowing that, all right, the baby not going to disturb the place and is not going to cry too much, but I can still learn. Or
Yeah.
having an environment, the kids are crawling around and doing what they're doing, and you are still there learning. So it's finding these different ways. And same thing for youth. You're probably not going to get a lot of them again to sit down in a classroom setting, but how we going to use up the YouTubes? How are we going to use up the Instagrams? How are we going to use up the technology to bring information to them in a real way? The youth are all about keeping it real. Like they
Um,
don't want the highfalutin things. They're the microwave people. They want to see how it going to work right now. So we have to find these creative ways of ensuring that we get the youth in. And the thing about it is that Jamaica's agriculture population is aging. Like
yes.
when we look at the average age of farmers in Jamaica,
Mhm,
we're getting old.
mhm.
And so we have to find a way to make agriculture look good. And I guess one of my pet peeves, and it's because I'm in it and I love it so much, it's changing the way we view agriculture. Agriculture is no longer the man in the dirty tear up pants and the tear up shoes and the no, listen, agriculture has transcended that in so many ways and so many forms, but somehow that picture still resonates. And so because that is the picture that resonates, it is not as sexy, if I can use that word,
Yes,
as
we
other
always say.
professions. As
Yeah.
other professions. So I use farmer, me nah you what? No, sir. Them a thing about bola work and corn in calluses in their hands, and they've moved past that. But agriculture is so much more than that now. And it
Yes.
is finding these good role models, finding these persons who are doing it and they're doing it big and doing this in a real way to say, here is what agriculture looks like. And
Mhm.
so to get people to move away from the farmer perception to
Yeah.
what agriculture really is now. And that is what the SAC project is really looking to facilitate. So having heard from the women, heard from the youth, heard from the men, because don't feel no way, the men have challenges too, they are challenged in many ways. And so it is now that we've heard and you've shared what your challenges are, how are we going to work together to get some solutions going?
Absolutely. Wow, you hit a lot there. One of the things is, and I mentioned it, I think in the beginning, is
Mhm.
we were all talking about we're trying to make agriculture look more sexy. Again, because those of us that are in it are getting old, and we need the younger
Mhm.
population to see what you can do with farming. But again, and that's one of the things we preach, even since we've started and since we've been doing iGoat Track, is like it's not like your grandfather's farm. Okay, we're
Mm-mm.
not. I am
Mm-mm.
not into hard labor. I am into smart labor. And
Yes.
I like to get dirty. So we're going to have to figure out how to do this the
Mhm.
best way possible and not, break more sweat than I need to and not to get more dirty than I need to. So again, it's to get everybody in that mindset. And that's why we try to encourage a lot of different, the farm population to come on so that they
Mhm.
can see that it's sexy. I don't know if you know the group Stush in the Bush, Christopher and
Yes.
Lisa. We had them
Yes.
on. I mean, look, watch them
Mhm.
farming. It's like, oh my God.
I know.
We've had, Mr. McCook comes on, Matthew
Mhm.
come on. So we want everybody to see that, we look beautiful farming,
Yeah.
all of us. So it's thank you. So it's no hard labor, broke your back. No, it's all about figuring
Mhm.
out what is the best way to do something. Not because it's been done that way for 59 years, means it's the best way to do it. What is a better way to do it? Right? And
Yes.
talk about YouTube and Instagram and cruises on the line. We tell them all the time, go look it up. You're on YouTube anyway, looking up how to do
Mhm.
this dance and looking up watching this stupid thing and watching all this other. Not that I use YouTube for all kinds of stuff, but look up all the stuff. Anything you need to know is online.
Mhm. Mhm.
University, right? So if we tell you something to do, okay, fine. You don't want to take what I say. I'm fine with that. Go on YouTube and look it up yourself.
Yep.
And
Chances are there's somebody doing it somewhere.
yes, yeah, and people when you hear information from several different sources, then it
Mhm.
helps you internalize that better as a person, other than your boss telling you do da 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 da.
Yeah.
And look
Yeah.
at yourself on YouTube because, of course, YouTube is cool, right? Oh, I
Mhm.
guess she's all right. I guess she's telling me the right thing. So we're always encouraging our youth to go out there and find the information and find a
Mhm.
better way to do things. So
Mhm.
I'm really excited that SAC is all about that as well. So you know that group that when you were singing that song, I remember I think I joined that session because I remember that
Ah.
singing, but I
Yes.
don't remember how I got the link to the session. But I remember that singing.
Mhm.
I'm like, heard that. Oh, I was
You
on that.
heard that song before.
I was on that session. So yeah. So so how do you talk about all these forums?
Hmm.
You get these forums together? Do you have little, you go through like RADA and all these other groups and associations? How do you get the people together, the youth and the women together, and the men too? Let's not forget the men and the men too.
Yes. So the thing about the sustainable agriculture, as we said, we are facilitators. Like, we're not trying to insert ourselves in the process. Trudy, there are so many entities already here who are doing a
Okay.
good job with agriculture. And
Mhm.
so what we have done is we seek to work through partnerships. And so for example, our youth consultations, Jamaica 4-H, they
All right.
were a tremendous partner in, they have a registry of youth. Like,
Mhm.
why would we want to go try to find them on our own when they're a captive audience with 4-H? RADA has youth farmers. And so we simply work through the existing channels, because sometimes, and we know our government entities, they do the best with what they have. And sometimes if they have a little bit more support, then they could do so much more. And so we work through, again, it's facilitation. We work through a RADA, through a Jamaica 4-H, through the Jamaica Network of Rural Women Producers. Everybody who is out there who is doing the work, we seek to partner with them to get the work done. Because
Okay.
together, alone, we can only go so far, but together, we can go the distance. And like I said, when 2026 comes and SAC is over, the agriculture industry is still going to be here, and we
Mhm.
need it to continue. And so by working with a RADA, partnering with 4-H, partnering with Jamaica Network of Rural Women Producers, that ensures that that longevity that is needed, we're building it in as we go along.
Okay. All right. So we have youth on the line. We have women on the line, and then we have some men that fall in. How do you? Okay. Before I get to that first question, how do you? Since your focus is women and youth, but
Mhm.
then you also add men in there. Is there some kind of parameters that you use for men not to?
Sure. We do
categorize?
have a working definition
Mhm.
for what we're calling marginalized men.
Okay.
And these are men who are, they're somewhat active in agriculture, so they probably do it and they have another little job that they're doing. But if they were supposed to be able to get support, some additional support, they would really be able to make a good living out of agriculture. So that's the kind of definition that we're working with for marginalized men. Um, and I know we've been to sessions, and the men are saying it's us that you should be focusing on, because we are becoming the extinct, we're becoming the what do you call it now, the endangered species. So it all depends on where we are,
Okay.
what's happening, and it's situation specific.
Mhm.
And we're also working with men in as much as they support, and they help to empower women. So it
Okay.
could be, a male producer who majority of his staff are women. So
Uh,
most of the women who work in most of the persons who work in that facility, they are women.
okay.
And we have this little jargon in SAC that we say it depends. And so nothing is really ever cast in stone, because we're about facilitation. We
Mhm.
take each opportunity to partner. We take every opportunity to engage with a group of farmers at its own merit. And so that's how our it depends method works. So it depends in as much as they align with what we're trying to achieve. It depends in as much as they are able to also bring something to the table, because you made the reference to teaching someone how to fish.
Yeah.
And we are not about distorting the market system. We are about catalyzing. So putting in that one little piece of training or that one little piece of equipment that will then catalyze how the market system can operate. And something that once seemed impossible for this group is now possible, because they've gotten this additional training, or they were linked with a private sector partner who could help them in a particular area. So that is how we work.
Okay, very nice. Okay,
Yes.
so go back to the original question that I had then
Mhm.
is, all right, I am a youth, or I'm a woman, or I'm a marginalized man, or I fall in the it depends category.
Okay.
How do I get in touch with SAC slash kind of get help from SAC? How do I go about doing that?
Okay. So we are on social media. So we do have a Facebook page. So
Mhm.
persons can go. It's WUS Caribbean. So you can go and look
WSC,
us up.
right?
WUS, yes, WUS
WSC.
Caribbean. Yes, WUSC
Mhm.
Caribbean. Yeah.
Okay.
So through there you can we've had a lot of people reaching out. They message us there. Our office is also located at 18 Cargill Avenue in Kingston. So persons can swing on by. Um,
Writing
persons
this
can
down.
swing on by our office.
Okay.
And what we do, as we said, is that we work through partners. So
Mhm.
we work with the input suppliers. So we might hear of groups of youth or groups of women through
Mhm.
particular input suppliers, through the Jamaica 4-H. They might say, hey, we have this great set of young people who, we think could fit the bill, and we could see how we could work together to support them. And so there's several ways in which it could be RADA that has a group, or sometimes group just reach out to us and say, hey, we're a group of women, we're a group of youth, we're a group of men. How can we benefit? And
Mhm.
then we begin that discussion. It's and I'll be upfront. It doesn't mean that for everybody who reaches out that there's going to be some kind of benefit, because again, it depends on the alignment. And we have this thing that is called skill will. So a lot of persons will, it's all well and good to get something, but
Mhm.
once you get it, what are you going to do with it? There's also that need to demonstrate
Mhm.
that you are serious about this thing, that you have a passion about this thing, that your life actually depends on agriculture. And these are some of the criteria that we look at when
Mhm.
we're trying to figure out, who it is that we can work with.
Okay. So you brought up a good point there. So you find this group and or figure out this individual, or let's just say an individual within a group to
Mhm.
keep it easier to
Mhm.
talk about here. And then you facilitate in, I don't know, whatever you could probably provide for that person. Let's say you gave them a goat. I don't know. I'm just pick
Mhm.
something. You said how does that person demonstrate to SAC that, okay, you gave me this goat and I am going to be fruitful and multiply? Do you guys go back and check on that person to see how they're doing, or they just get the goat and like, oh, good luck,
No, no,
we
no.
hope it's still alive in 3 years? I mean, do you go back and check on them, and what's that
Yes.
situation like after you? Okay.
So one of the things to note is that we are just coming to the end of our first year, but our first year was kind of our administrative year, getting all the things in place, getting all the partners, figuring out what the challenges that we needed to work with.
Mhm.
And so we are just now beginning to get out into into implementation mode. So we haven't yet started any activities on the ground. So that's the point that we're at now. We're pivoting from inception into implementation. And so as I said, we're working with 4-H, RADA, JAS, you name it. Whoever's out there, JNRWP, who's working. And what we're doing is we have to be very careful again, Trudy, because then it's not about giving again the handouts.
Mhm.
So it is, let us see how input with this, whether it is individual or group of persons, is going to grow, because we're about scale. Whatever we do, oops, yes, and I just spilled my water. Whatever we do, there must be the potential for growth.
Mhm.
um and so when you talk about demonstrating, it is okay, are you a one person? We'll go back to your goat analogy. If you are the sole person in your community with a goat,
Mhm.
right, and you don't really have anything else going on, chances are, if push come to shove, what are you going to do with that goat?
I was still that goat for money. It's a curry ram.
It's a curry goat. Yes. And so these are some of the things, like we have to you have to be able to, we like if persons are part of a community.
Mhm.
So whether it is a cluster, so for
Mhm.
let's say we support a group with goats, it must be that when these goats have kids, then one goes to another farmer,
Mm-hmm.
And when those ones have kids, it goes to another farmer.
Okay.
And that is how we scale and we spread and we grow. Because one of the challenges that I have found, Trudy, from my more than a decade years of experience in agriculture is that we are very we're very we hold things. I'm trying to find the best word, Trudy. We hold things. So
Mm-hmm.
even though the project might start out as a group
Intentions.
with good intentions, the
Yes.
person who actually gets the item, it becomes my item.
Mhm.
And we don't have that kind of community sharing of resources that come in. So we have to be very careful to
Yeah.
ensure that whatever support or facilitation is done, it is done in such a way that the greatest amount of persons can benefit.
Absolutely. Okay.
So
Yes.
you asked us, how will we know if it's working?
Mm-hmm.
Because monitoring and evaluation
Okay.
is a huge part of what we do. So, working in tandem with the other extension officers will be coming to check,
Mm-hmm.
is the goat gaining weight? When you put out the goat, did it stick? After it stick, all right. How are the vet visits going? We will be looking to make sure that there is that people are following, and not just that. Depending on the size of the investment that is made, we
Mm-hmm.
have partnership agreements, memorandum of understanding. There are things that people will have to sign that will hold them accountable to ensure that what we are looking to achieve together will be achieved. So we have several instruments that we will use to ensure that that continuity
Mm-hmm.
happens.
Very good. Because, like you said, all these phenomenal projects come, and people are like,
Mhm.
"Yes, we'll do it." And then, as soon as the group leaves, then it stays in one
Yeah.
location and doesn't go
Yes.
anywhere else. So we definitely want to get out of that
Mhm.
model and get it bigger. All right. So let's say online we have several people that are established farmers, meaning they're a
Mhm.
good sized farm. What if they want to participate with SAC to help their neighboring smaller farmers? How do we get in touch with you, and how does that work?
Okay, so that's definitely a model that we're looking at as well, because that's scalable.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have an established entity in a community,
Mm-hmm.
and we can see where you're not just on paper supporting the persons around you, but you actually have a good relationship with the other farmers in your cluster, that you are actually supporting the other farmers in your cluster, then yes, it makes it easier for us. We have to, and here's one thing, Trudy, like, we don't just get up and get projects. Remember I said there are 5 countries. We
Mm-hmm.
have to make the case. Like the
Yeah.
Jamaica team, we have to pitch the case to say, all right, this is a group of farmers. We have to show from start to finish how it is going to work. So we have to say, like, okay, there is this person, this entity that we have identified. Around them there are 70 other farmers who interact with them. So if they are facilitated by the project, then we have 70 other farmers that could be reached, and here's how they're going to reach those 70 farmers. Like, it is, we have to make a case.
Okay. Okay.
For,
That's
so as I said, persons can reach out to us. We are on Facebook. I can give you my information, Trudy, and we can drop that maybe in the chat. You have
yeah.
my email address, so people can reach out to us directly to see, because we're open to exploring. And like we said, it depends. And as much as we align and we're able to achieve that scalability, then there is always a possibility that we can work together. Yes.
Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to do this. I just put my email address in
Mhm.
the chat, trudy@cabaranch.com. Anybody who wants Nelsa's contact information, reach out to me, and I'd be happy to share it with you. Okay. I'm going to throw Ray's in here too. So you can actually email both of us. So that way, if one person doesn't see it, the other one does.
Mhm.
Okay. So let's see where we have covered quite a bit of information. Let's go through the chat here to see if anybody has any questions or any comments. I see that Mr. McCook puts that I'm looking to hire 80% ladies on my farm. Okay, so that's good to know, Mr. McCook. Woman power.
Mhm.
Yes, we do good work. So absolutely, that would be awesome. Let's see. Let's see what this one says. This is from Conrad, and I don't have my glasses. Okay, it says, "Hello, my Jamaican brothers and sisters. We need to build wealth. We can concur the
Conquer the whole market. Mm-hmm.
goat market in the US. Imagine what Australia and New Zealand is doing world over." Okay.
Mhm.
All
And
right.
truly, I should add, as what's his name now, Conrad,
Yes.
that
Okay.
we are driven by the science. So we don't just, pick things out of the air and decide what we want to work on. We actually do studies. We did a gendered market assessment that helped us to identify
Mhm.
what are the key areas, the market sectors that we could work in. What are the areas that women and youth could get into
Yeah.
easily enough that would
Yeah.
ensure that they make a good return on their investment, that is not too laborious that they cannot work in them. And so the areas that we're targeting in the first 2 years of the project, we're looking at goats. We're looking at what we call our herbs and spices basket. So that includes turmeric, ginger, hot pepper. So those are the ones that we're targeting. So if there are persons who are working in these particular market systems, you, as Trudy said, you can reach out to her. We're always willing to come and have a look at what you're doing, have a discussion with you. We've been having lots of field meetings just to get a sense of what's going on. And remember, if we're talking about scalability, we're talking about impact, being able to reach not just yourself, but lots of other women and youth, because it's a collective effort. If, as Conrad said, we're going to build wealth together, we have to work together. And there's one thing that I always, whenever I get the chance, I always like to talk to my farmers. Guys, we are there is something that holds us back a lot as we try to go forward, and it's that we have a very individualistic nature sometimes, and we're unwilling to work together.
Mhm.
And if we work together, we are stronger than when we try to go at it alone. And so I always try to encourage farmers, get in your groups, work in your groups. And the other thing, too, again, my years of experience, that and one thing that this project is really looking to facilitate is getting persons to start viewing agriculture as a business. It's
Mhm.
not a side hustle. It's
Mm.
not it's not a little thing that we do. It's not just one little something. This
Mhm.
is our job. So in as much as a doctor gets up and he goes to the hospital or he goes to his practice, and that's his job, when we wake up in the mornings as farmers and we go to our farm, we are going to our jobs. And I
Yeah.
think when we start viewing agriculture as a business, then you will see how we can catalyze, and we it will explode how agriculture will work. And what am I talking about? So some of us will get contracts to supply, whether it is pepper or ginger or goat or whatever, to a supplier.
Mhm.
We signed a contract, but then we might have signed the contract at $80. And when the crop comes in, because we're not good business people, the market is $130. And you say, oh my gosh, the market is $130. And you renege on your contract and you go sell to the market for $130. And then the market, though, you know how market prices fluctuate. So this week is 130, next week is 100, then it's $50, then it's $30, and it just keeps moving up and down. And my, all people have this thing, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face,
Yes.
because we don't view agriculture as a business. If you have a contract that is paying you $80
Okay.
for 6 months, it still works out better than getting 130 this week, $100 next week, $50 next week, and then we hear on the TV, oh, them throwing it away to the pigs because there's no a glut. And I
Yes.
think that is a place for education, getting farmers to look at what is my cost of production. What does it cost me to plant this 1 square of pepper? What does it cost me to plant 2 squares of ginger
Mhm.
or 2 squares of yam? Whatever it is that you're planting. All right. So if it costs me on average $100,000. I'm using simple math.
Mhm.
Then how much do I need to be able to sell to ensure that I can cover my cost of production, which is the $100,000, and have something to reinvest in my farm? And so this is where we have to take our level of thinking and reasoning when it comes to agriculture. It cannot be you just eat a food. So you go wherever the wind blows you. We're just going. We 5 years from now we'll be having the same conversation if we continue to operate like that. We
Yeah.
have to start viewing this as a business, as a job, making smart decisions to ensure that we get the best return on our investment. Your sweat equity. Sometimes sun hot and you might have to do some of the man as much as Trudy doesn't like manual work. Sometimes you got to do a little manual work, and there is a cost to that, because if you had to hire somebody, you
That's
would
true.
have to pay them. So if you do it yourself, there is a cost attached to that. And looking at what those costs are and allow that to help us to make sound decisions, not just to be swayed by, oh my gosh, I can get $150 over here, so let me go over here. So and you turn your back on $100 for 6 months just to go get 150 for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, we have to. We really, sorry, I sound like a preaching, but I
No,
say
no, no. You are like we would say, fox. So we preach that a lot. We are like, guys, this is a business. Treat it like
yeah.
a business.
Yes,
Do all your
yes.
costing. I don't know if you heard me greet Kenneth online. He came on and did a whole costing thing for us. And
Mhm,
we had banks come on and talk about business loans versus personal loans and
mhm.
what's the benefits. And we had the tax people come on and tell us, okay, yes, you need to file your taxes. And so, yes, we are. And we talk about registering your business. We talk about, yes, it is a business. So I am so happy also preaching the same song so they don't think we're going crazy.
No, we're not. It's
Yeah.
necessary. And again, constant repetition. I think I'm hoping that the more we say it and the more we try to facilitate it, is the more it will stick. And the
Yeah.
other thing with young people, you have to show them the money. They want to see how it's going to work now and how much money them going to make. And so
Mhm.
it's very important that we come at agriculture from a business perspective, rather than it's our passion and we love it, but we have to treat it with the respect. If we're going to do it and do it well, we have to treat it with the respect that it deserves.
And I think that's one way to make it sexy, right? Because if you call it a
Mhm.
business,
Yeah.
more than just on farming, if you call it a business, a lot of
Mhm.
people are like, oh, yeah, so this person is serious about it. All right. Another thing that a lot of farmers slash business farmers have a challenge with
Mhm.
is scheduling, right? They only plan for right now and they don't plan out for the rest of the year. No, you really need to have either if it's onions or coconut or whatever it is, you need to try to figure out a schedule so you're going to have it throughout the year, not just 1 or 2 months a year. You want it throughout the whole year. Because the
Yes.
other challenge becomes, okay, you get this nice big lump sum of money here. Are you going to budget that you can live on this nice big lump sum of money till you have another nice big lump sum of
Yeah.
money? So either side, it's like it's an
Mhm.
imbalance. You have to be able to plan it out so you always have
Mhm.
it, and
and
that's
and reinvesting in your business. So when you do a crop and you make the money, I know the money is nice, and you say, Lord, I have all this money, but remember, you got to put in another crop. You got to
yes,
go do something else, or you got to put money back into your business. So when your business make a little money, you don't just get glad and do away with it, go have a vacation or something at an all inclusive. You reinvest that money into your business and
yes.
help it to continue to grow.
We want to know which farm having enough money for me to go to an all inclusive. Am I doing
Mhm.
something right? What am I missing? Because my money is all inclusive rate yet.
Where is all inclusive yet? I'm telling you, man.
I'm working on it. All right, so let's look at a couple comments. So Dr. Young is always there to keep me in line. She's because remember the comment about going online, YouTube, Instagram, and looking up
Mhm.
stuff. She said only comment is please look when you're looking up YouTube. Not everything should be used. Thank you, Dr. Young, for reminding us.
That is true.
Peer-reviewed and trusted sources are very important, and a lot of garbage out there. So that is very, very true. So
Yes.
yeah, find that source that you that because they're different. There are a couple people out there that over time,
Mhm.
many of us have in the farming community, a lot of people, like Sheepishly Me is one that a lot of us say, oh yeah, I'm watching her. So there are a couple people that are kind of tried and true that most of us have used. But
Mhm.
again, if you look at something and you don't know for sure, ask somebody else, because there are all these WhatsApp groups and all these other groups that say, hey, I'm trying to do this, what this, da 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 da. I found this in YouTube. What do you guys think?
Mhm.
So thank you, doctor. And of course, reach out to your vets to
That
ask
is
them what
true.
they think.
Networking is very important. And we see, and we have to begin to view networks as important resources. So it's not just a WhatsApp chat that, whatever. This is your research center. So when you need to know how to do something, you go to your WhatsApp group where your experts in their own ways are there. And value your network, and just think about what is culture specific, what is climate specific, because
Yeah.
it makes no sense we go watch something that's being done in a cold country and
Mhm.
think that's going to work in our hot country. So there are lots of little things that we have to consider when we're out there looking for information.
Mhm.
Yes.
Absolutely. Conrad has another comment. Wow, smart sister, forecasting, storage, and preservation as a business.
The business, yes.
Yes. Projection. Dr. Mr. McCook said projection is good.
Mhm.
Too. Cost out before you plant is another good note here. All right. Very good. Any guys, you guys have any questions for Nelsa? I mean, she's just been spilling out so much I mean, she's just been preaching. I love it. I love it. Any questions for Nelsa or other comments? You guys have had a lot of good comments to add. See, yes,
Mhm.
Howard said, preach it, sister. So, yes, they are truly loved. All the
There's one thing else that I'd like to throw out there, Trudy. In as much as we want to produce and we want agriculture to be sexy, one of the things that we really have to focus on is climate and
yes.
how it is affecting how we plant, what we plant, when we can plant. We have to be very, very cognizant of it. So our planting seasons are not like they used to. We don't have those clear cut May rains, and then we get the October showers. Like, it's not that clear cut anymore. Climate change is impacting us in a real way now. And so one of the things that I would encourage our farmers and other persons who are involved in agriculture is try to stay one step ahead. So water is the major limiting factor to our ability to produce. So whether it is animals, they have to get water, you have to wash to keep places sanitized. Water is a major limiting factor. What I will encourage in time of plenty,
Mhm.
store water for
Yes, ma'am.
time of prolonged drought. It is not an if it is going to happen, it is a when. And so we have to ensure that we stay prepared. So in as much ways that you can harvest your water, try to harvest water and keep it back. There are lots of measures that you can use on your soil to maintain moisture in the soil. So all of these little things, we have to start getting innovative now in terms of irrigation systems and those kind of things. And we don't have to think about no expensive highfalutin irrigation systems, small things that can work for you. This is where we innovate. The other part of the flip side of climate is we have to ensure that we are able to produce
Mhm.
in such a way that the same youth who are the now and the future will be able to come behind us and also produce. So
Yes.
we have to be very careful in how we dispose of our agricultural waste.
Mhm.
It can get into water streams and cause all kinds of problems. Most of the water that we consume, we take it from the surface, and what we don't take from the surface, we take it from the ground. Pollutants can leach and make their way down into groundwater.
Mhm.
If we don't practice the proper land management techniques, stuff can get washed off the soil into the rivers. And
Yes.
so we have to ensure that we are, in as much as we're trying to grow and we're becoming, more economically viable, we cannot do it to the detriment of the very thing that we depend on to make a living, which is the environment. So
Wow.
we always have to be cognizant as well. And there's so many things. Like one of the options that we want to look at as a project is zero waste farms.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing goes to waste. So what is your waste could become another person's input.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you're a goat farmer, the droppings from the goat. How can we compost that and break it down into a more stable material that can then become somebody else's fertilizer? And that's a little business there popping up too.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what you would have normally chucked away or not even cared about, this is another revenue stream that is coming into your business. So we're trying to get this zero waste going. The persons who do crops, compost your crop waste as well. And instead of going to buy commercial fertilizers that are feeding the weeds, because it's in a readily available form. So as soon as you put it down, the weeds get more of it than the plants actually do if you're not doing what is called precise nutrition. Then compost is more stable. It is a slow release fertilizer. So it slowly releases the nutrients that the plants can take up over time. It doesn't have to cost you as much because you're doing it yourself, or you have, struck up a deal with a goat farmer so you can buy their goat compost. And that's how we start forming, these circular economies.
Nice.
So these are ways that we can have to look at, how does my waste, how can I put my waste to good use so it can become an input for another one? We must farm, we must increase our production, but we cannot do it at the expense of the environment on which we depend.
Mm-hmm. Very well said. That's definitely something that I don't think is talked about enough.
Mhm.
We did have a guy that came on and did this. He's like a compost specialist, so he talked about composting and how you do it and a different type of composting. But I, like you said, you hear it the one time or every so often, but nobody really pays attention to it. And it goes back
Mhm.
to the more you hear something, it's the more it becomes a part of you. So we always have to keep talking about this.
Mhm.
I like how you said the circular economy. I like that. That's a nice, cool way to say it. So I know I've been talking to Shane, and we were talking about our manure. We do use it, so we use it
Mhm.
for our pasture. We have a couple of people that come and actually just buy manure, and then we do
Mhm.
we do some composting, not like to a high technical level, just kind
Mhm.
of.
Mhm.
But I think you guys have a different method that's actually not a different method, but a better method of doing it. And so
Mhm.
she sent us some pictures and videos. So I may be talking to Shane to see if we can get into doing some more
Yes. Yes.
because there's just
And
so.
again, it's innovation. We know that, or the farmers that we're targeting through the project, they're not awash with money that they
Mm,
can do anything at the drop of a hat. To do the right thing, the best practice, it costs money. And so what we're trying again to facilitate is innovative ways of doing what needs to be done.
mhm.
So what are cost effective ways that we can? So maybe there is this specialized machine somewhere, but how can we take a look at that machine and make our own version of it?
There you go.
Something that is cost effective, that works locally for us, and can be easily replicated and moved around throughout our farmers. So those are some of the things that we're about: innovation and getting things going.
Mhm. Absolutely. All right. Miss Nelsa, you gave us a lot with a lot of passion and a lot of
Mhm.
love, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope everybody else did.
Thank you so
So
much.
yes, we still have to meet in person, so you're gonna have to come to see.
Yes, we'll have to fix that, Trudy. We'll have to fix that.
Yes, yes, and I'll make chocolate chip pumpkin muffin. It was good.
Okay. Okay.
Pumpkin muffin and goat milk.
All right. I'm game. I'm game for that.
Yes, yes. So if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm gonna let Miss Nelsa go because she's had a full day. So again, she's
Mhm.
had this is what your fifth online session today or fourth or
Yep.
something like.
Yep.
Yeah. So we truly appreciate you going from one session to another session to another session. Her last session was at 6:30, guys, and then she jumped on over here. So she must be super tired, and so we definitely appreciate it. And you are welcome to come back to the farm or come to the farm or come back
Mhm.
on the live anytime. We would
Oh
love
wow. Thank you. Thank you.
this is a phenomenal session and we thank you for your time. Guys, please keep Ukraine in your heart and
Mhm.
remember those pray for them. And we will be here next week, same time, same place, with another great topic. And until then, guys, be good. Thanks again, Nelsa. Everybody have a good
You're
night.
welcome. Bye, everyone. Have an awesome night.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.